Hey there, YouTube friends. I'm back with a response video for Baseball Card Junkies TV and their 2,000 subscriber giveaway. I do want to congratulate you gentlemen on reaching that impressive milestone. For the rest of you, since you're watching a sports card video on YouTube, I don't think I have to explain to you who Baseball Card Junkies TV is. Obviously, you already know, and you've been watching them for a long time. Now, a couple things for their contest. They wanted to know the origin of our username. With mine, it's ridiculously simple. It is just my name, because I didn't have any originality when I was registering for YouTube, looking for just people to communicate with regarding cards, and I don't have an LCS or any friends in my life that collect cards. So for me, I was looking for what I found here in a community of people that are excited and happy to discuss cards in that. So that's where I'm at. And now next, they wanted us to show a few cards that were weird or would be a little bit different, that you wouldn't find maybe in somebody else's collection, and maybe had some stories behind them. And really, you get to, that is my entire collection. And that when I came back to the hobby, I didn't want to break wax anymore, and I was looking for something. I wanted, something where I felt like I was getting more value, and I loved baseball and I loved the history of the game. And so I decided, I wanted to collect Hall of Famers, and I wanted to try and have a collection that would be diverse, and, but it needed to be economical, because I didn't have a large budget to spend on cards. And I wasn't a guy that was going to be able to spend $200-300 on cards at all. Most of the time I would be trying to buy cards, $20-25 here and there. What most of you guys are spending on a blaster, that was kind of what I was looking to try and spend on an individual purchase at the time. And so when I was getting into this, I had to try and learn and find things that to me felt like they were undervalued, and things that maybe less appreciated. And what I found was, in the hobby, we don't place a lot of near enough value on rarity comparatively. Rarity just isn't valued to the degree that I feel like it should. And anything that kind of diverges from the traditional sense of what a baseball card is, and the standard size and its ability to fit into a standard size pocket in a binder, the less like that it was, the more underappreciated and undervalued items like that would be. So things like this here, every one of these is a Hall of Famer. These were sold, as with gum, as cigarettes on these, or with tea in the case of the Sandy Koufax. And none of these cost probably $40 at most on any of these, and most of them were in the $25 range, maybe a little bit more now. I'm trying to remember on the McGraw domino disc, but once again, it's just an extremely low value amount. And I'm going to show way more cards than the 4 you guys asked for, because I'm a junkie. And what do junkies do? We say like, oh, well, you know, I just need one drink, or I need to do one line of Coke, you know, and it's going to settle my nerves. And what do? We come out and we just go full-blown junkie mode, and we just do more and more and more until there's a serious collapse and a problem. And that's what I'm going to do here, because you got me started. You gave me that first drink, and now I'm just going to keep showing cards at you until you get tired of it. But I'm going to show you at least original stuff and unique stuff, and most of it's stuff that you don't see more than just a couple of different channels here in our community. So like here, this is like a matchbook cover, a Dizzy Dean. This is an exhibit card. You know, once again, outside bigger than the traditional mold from the early 20s. And this is a wide pin premium, so this would have been redeemed for gum wrappers back in the mid 30s. This here is from the late 20s, features Dazzy Vance, who, if you're trying to buy his traditional 33 Gouty card that most people, you know, would look to get if they wanted to add him to their collection, that's kind of the standard card for people. It's an extremely expensive card because it's the #1 card in the Gouty set, so extra wear to it, and the card stock on those low numbers was lower quality. So, you know, that's extremely expensive normal card to get, but something like this was, you know, just a fraction of the cost because, hey, it's bigger and just not as well known or regarded. And like this here is a set of strip cards, the W517. That set has got a ton of Hall of Famers in it, and those cards are really affordable to acquire. They're not expensive at all. And so those are like some of the older ones, and this big stuff. Also got, and some of this bigger stuff here, some newer stuff. Now this one here, I stumbled into this thing because this is not a 1971 Boston Red Sox team issue card like it says on the PSA flip. PSA, somebody sent this in saying that's what it was, and PSA slabbed it without validating it because the 71 team issue set is a black and white set, and this isn't part of that set. But it's been slabbed, and I've talked with a couple of big-time Yaz collectors that are big into the master registry. They don't know what this card is at all. None of them can tell me. They haven't seen it before, and both say it's got to be extremely rare because they don't know what it is. So, I mean, there's probably, you know, 1,000 guys or more that have a PSA graded example of Carl Yastrzemski's rookie card, but I'm maybe the only guy that has a copy of this card, and I got it for $20. You know, so there's value to be had out there if you're willing to just kind of look outside of that Topps and Bowman box that a lot of vintage guys get into, and depart from T206, T205, and 33 Gouty in the pre-war side, you know, and just get outside the mainstream sets. Like things like this, these were unlicensed, so they don't have the logos on them, but incredibly affordable to acquire. Like this here is 1964 Topps Giants, Hank Aaron. You know, this is a card, you know, even graded $20, $25 tops for, you know, a grade of a PSA 7. Now, if I was to try and acquire a card of that value, that high a grade in a 60s card to Hank Aaron, you know, I'd never be able to do it. So, and then got here 1985 Phillies Cigna, so it's, you know, a regional issue. The regional issues, there's lots of value to be had in those, especially if they're larger or smaller shape than what's standard. Okay, sorry. Background noise, had to shut it down. All right, and okay, then, you know, got other big stuff here. These, you know, supplements from the Sporting News magazine from 1910. You know, Bobby Wallace. This one here has 2 Hall of Fame umpires on it. So, and this one's got Chief Bender, got a Heine Manouche, Butterfinger Premium. This would have been redeemed for your candy bar wrappers back in 1934. Speaking of Butterfingers, this one right here, this is Stanley Harris. You know, it's only a 3.5, but this is actually the highest graded example of this premium. And because, well, only a few of them have actually been graded, because they're big, they're awkward, and they're hard to find in really good condition because they're super thin. They're just basically, they're 8 by 10 pieces of paper with the picture printed on them, so they're super fragile. You find most of these, they're just eaten up. But you know, if you're interested in that route, they're able to be acquired, and they're big, they're beautiful, they display nice. See these here, once again, more issues of Ernie Lombardi. Got Bill Dickey here on the back because I got to get more top loaders that can hold this stuff. That's another problem, is trying to find supplies that you can put some of this stuff in. This is another Dizzy Dean and Jimmy Fox, you know, 2 great baseball Hall of Famers that, you know, you're able to get premiums like that for a fraction of the cost of what you'd spend to try and get, you know, your traditional Gaudy cards that everybody thinks of, or maybe a Diamond Stars even. And this one here, this is Mel Ott. It's one of the rarest premiums that I own, and I absolutely love this one in spite of the fact it's trimmed on all 4 sides, and it was roughed up this corner here coming out of whatever album that it was glued into, so it tore from there. But this photo is just amazing, and this is incredibly rare premium. I've only seen a couple of these ever on eBay, and you don't see them come up for auction or anything like that. They're just not an item that you find. And this right here, this is another example of an item that you can get that's really affordable, and you can get some big time Hall of Famers. This here is Zach Wheat, who's not an easy guy to get a card of, but you can also get Ty Cobb, you can get Walter Johnson, you can get Shoeless Joe Jackson in these felt premium, these felt, they called B18 blankets that were made, and these were actually given with the purchase of cigarettes as well, and people sewed them up into quilts or sewed them onto pillows and did things like that with them. But there's big time stars that you can get from that early 20th century era that are, you know, really affordable compared to trying to buy, you know, a T206 card of Ty Cobb, or, you know, a caramel card of Shoeless Joe Jackson. This here is a premium that you got by sending in ice cream lids. And, you know, once again, it's just ginormous. So anything like this, you know, you just can't put it into a page in a binder. It doesn't, nobody slabs anything like this. It's hard to display, and it's unusual. So once again, you can acquire it for a fraction of the cost of anything else. This here is a cutout panel from a Wheaties box. This here was like a team issue photo. It came out of a photo pack, a Bobby Dorr. All of this stuff is just stuff that you can get just so much more affordably than the things everybody else has. And so this is why I love it, because I have all of this stuff, and instead of all of this stuff, yeah, maybe I could have one really nice Ty Cobb T206, a nice portrait, and that would be nice, and it'd display really well. But being the junkie that I am, I'd rather have this whole huge stack than just that one really nice card. Okay, and one last thing that I'll show you. It's another thing that makes my collecting unique, and that is my obsession with players and guys that have ties to the state of Nebraska. So I could hit you hard all day with guys like this that had kind of rather inconspicuous professional baseball careers. But here's one I grabbed out just to make sure I could shout out to Mike O and Wester Griff, Mr. Cody Ashe. I know he's your favorite, and you'd want to see that card of him. And this one right here, this is Kent McLuhan. Yeah, it's actually a football card, but he's the only professional athlete to attend and graduate from my high school, so I had to acquire that. And this right here is Zane Smith. A few people will know him. Got the autograph there. And Zane actually went to high school in North Platte, Nebraska, a town that I lived in for a time and where my wife grew up. And Zane here is her first cousin. Zane and his mother and my mother-in-law are half sisters. They come from, very, very large family. Heather, knew Zane as a kid and growing up, but I've never had the occasion to meet him. But it's kind of cool to say, hey, there is a professional baseball player in the family. And this here, last one I'm going to show you. This is Ad Lidska. He was the very first player from the University of Nebraska baseball team to make it to the major leagues. He played for the Washington Senators and the Philadelphia Phillies in the late 20s, early 30s, and then had a long career in the PCL for Oregon, or actually Portland. And I kind of stumbled onto this card searching, trying to find an autograph for him, because once again, obscure player, there weren't really any cards made for him, and I found this postcard, and I gave $25 for it, and I was showing it off, and out of the blue, I had somebody offer me $200 to buy it from me, and I still, to this day, I don't know exactly what it is about this card that makes it that valuable. I've tried to research and find out more that could explain it, and I can't come up with it, but for whatever reason, somebody really wanted this, and I turned it down because I know I will never be able to find another card like this that's autographed by Lidska in a major league uniform. So even though it was 8 times what I paid for it, I turned it down. And I turned it down once, and he came back a few months later and said, hey, do you still have that card, and would you be willing to sell it now? And the answer was still no. So it's whatever it is, I don't know if anybody else on the planet would offer me that much for it, or if there's anybody else on the planet that would say no to an offer for that much, except for me. But that is it. So thank you very much, everybody. If you stuck around the whole 20 minutes, God bless you. And this junkie's got to go check into rehab. Take care, everyone.